right, we'll call the March 20th, 2024 Policy and Academics Committee meeting to order. First order is roll call.
Dr. Diaz.
Here.
Ms. Fertitta.
Here.
Mr. Wright.
Here.
All present.
All right, thank you. Section 2, Policy Procedure, Proposed Policy Revisions and New Policies. To approve revisions to Policy BC, School Board Meetings as presented.
Yes, sir, Dr. Diaz. The recommended action is to approve revisions to Policy BC School Board Meetings. And the reason for this revision is a change in our practice. I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, on the recommendation of one of your fellow board members, we went from having separate awards meetings, oftentimes in the gym at East Thibodeau Middle School, to recognize things like perfect leap scores, 4.0, Student of the Year, Teacher of the Year, etc., to actually having what we're doing today, which is at the opening of our board meetings, you'll see that we bring various employees and students in for recognition for all sorts of things, right? Whether it's athletic, arts, music, or academics, and we weaved it into the course of our board meetings. So we have an antiquated policy that speaks to award programs that requires us to hold 3 award programs per year prior to the regularly scheduled board meeting, which also became problematic as we have moved the board meetings up to the 6 o'clock hour, which would make the start of an award ceremony before that probably untenable. So the recommended action is that we just simply delete the award programs from your policy manual. This will not, of course, delete the recognition of students and our employees. It will just reflect our current practice, which is we do this during the board meeting, rather than have a policy mandate that we have 3 specific awards programs throughout the year.
Very good. So I so move. All right, there we go. We got a first and second. We have comments from the public. Mr. Ron, please.
Ron Sapia, 110 Bourgeois Street, Grayson, Louisiana. As you see on this policy was last revised by the previous board at their last meeting on December 7th, 2022. And this past month, I submitted a policy to advisory, take a look at to do this, to make a change with the awards program. Mr. Martin told me that he was going to bring it up this week, that I didn't need to submit anything. And since y'all been, I guess, not following the policy, I support removing it from the policy and procedure manual. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Mr. Ron. So, Ron, thank you for bringing that up and speaking with Mr. Martin about that. We appreciate that. And obviously, we felt like it had merit, and we want to be in line with what our policy says. So thank you, sir. Appreciate that support. Any other public comment? Any board discussion? Hearing none, we can vote. Right, and that carries forward to the full meeting. Section 3, academics. Supervisor staff updates, curriculum, district data, and accountability. Ms. Burlett.
Hi, good evening, everybody. So testing season is upon us. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but at the end of the week, we will be finished with the first 2 tests that we give, which is Leap Connect and ELPT. Leap Connect is for students with severe exceptionalities, and so they get a modified test. And so that's done on an individual basis. ELPT measures our English language learners, which I think now they call them multi-language learners. But so anyway, so those tests are completed on Friday. This week, the seniors, some seniors and our juniors took ACT, and that was completed on Tuesday. We'll have a makeup day in April, on April the 9th, for any student who has yet to take ACT, because that is a requirement of the state for our high school accountability. After spring break, we're going to start the K-3 literacy assessment, which is our newest assessment. It's the formerly known as DIBELS, and it's now a state assessment. So we'll start that right after spring break, and that lasts until the end of April. This test is the first time that we're actually going to use a new secure test. It's new. It's not the previous DIBELS version, which was released online. It's a free version that everybody can access. So the state asked their vendor Amplify to create a new test. This is the first time students are actually going to be able to take it. And this provides the state with a baseline for the new accountability for K-2 schools moving forward. So that's what we're going to be doing when we get back from spring break. And then the window for LEAP 2025, that opens on April the 15th. We'll be testing from April the 15th through May the 17th. And that's the window. So high schools will test that week. High schools start testing on the 16th for retesters. We'll have 3 virtual days for high school students in which they will be testing English 1 and English 2 on that first day on the 23rd of April. The 24th, we test biology and U.S. history. And then on the 25th is Algebra 1 and Geometry, and those are virtual days. So any student who is not testing would have virtual assignments that are going to be assigned to them, and they'll work from home. On Friday of that week, that'll be on the 27th, 26th, the students are going to be taking a civics field test. So this is again, a new assessment that's going to be coming up that'll be looped into accountability in a couple of years. It's only for students who are taking the civics class, civics, government, and politics class. And we won't get scores. There aren't any voided tests, but it provides the state with a baseline for what the expectations are moving forward for students on this particular test. In 3 to 8, we're going to start testing on April the 30th for ELA and math. So that's April 30th, May 1st and 2nd. And then the next week, we'll be testing science. Science will count this year. It'll be double weighted. So we'll be testing that on May the 7th. We also have 2 field tests. We have a science field test that's coming up for grades 5 to 8. And we also are giving the social studies field test for all students in grades 3 to 8. And again, that's so that the state can get a baseline, and then they're trying out some new questions for science. So that's all I really have going on. That's it for me.
All right, very good.
The K3 screen, is that online too?
Yes, ma'am. It's completely paperless. So that's a challenge because our kinder students will have to know how to scroll. And so we've been talking to our school test coordinators about really going through that with our younger students because this is going to be paperless from now on. We're not allowed to, we don't even have the capability of printing out a paper copy for the children. So the test administrator will have a device and the child will have a device. And actually the state they have microphones on the TA device, so the state will be actually recording the administration of the test.
It's a one-on-one like DIBELS?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Colette?
Here's another question.
Okay.
So the kids will take a science test and then some will take an additional science field test,
Yes,
so that it'll
ma'am.
be double tested.
Well, it's an extra 45-minute
okay.
session.
Okay.
So it's
okay.
not like they're taking 2 complete tests. Now the social studies test is a complete battery of tests. So there'll be 3 sessions for the social studies test. And it depends on the grade level about what the time is. But it's a 70-minute session. So some students will be taking 3 70-minute assessments for a field test.
I just have a comment for you. As a LEAP tested teacher, and I've actually heard a lot from my constituents about this, but the 3 virtual days or virtual days for high school students, they really appreciated that because a lot of parents felt like they were sending their kids to sit in a jam or whatever, since the whole school is basically test frenzy. So it's really good, and that way they can still have some things being done at home. So that was a really good thing, and like the parish I work in, we do the same thing, and it works really well for those in the schools testing. So great idea.
Just a comment, at our recent school board convention, our keynote speaker did a wonderful job on testing. We're talking about testing. And I just think that I want to say, I wish he would address that to the Bessie board, with our legislature, because I think we agreed with a lot he said, but there's not a thing we can do about it.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I will be asking this board to do something about it here in the next 60 days. The Bessie board recommended a complete overhaul of Louisiana's accountability system at its last meeting. Before I celebrate, I want to see what that looks like. I will tell you that the federal government requires that we test math and English twice in grades 4 through 8. We test math, English, science, social studies every year, grades 3 through 10. 11 if you count American history. In high school, you have to test once in reading, English, social studies, science. We test multiple times. We now have a K-3 screener, and you've heard all the tests that Ms. Burlett just laid out. We are over assessing kids to the worst extent possible. The LSBA will be asking you to draft 2 resolutions upcoming as it relates to accountability and also about ESAs, which is another topic. But to your point, we will be asked to petition our legislature soon about accountability and the harmful effects of over-assessing our kids. And hopefully we get some traction.
That's a whole month that we could have instruction instead of testing. That just doesn't make any sense.
All right. Thank y'all very much. All right, secondary, welcome back, Mr. Delphin.
Thank you. My update's going to be very short because I don't know what's going on. Being out a couple of days feels like a week, and being out 6 weeks feels like a year. But I really appreciate this. I've been extremely supported by this building, by this district, by board members, by everybody. Really meant a lot. Really helped out in terms of just, the motivation that it took to kind of work myself back up to this point. I'm not all the way there yet, but I'm getting there. We'll get there. So I'm going to take this second chance and make the most of it. So since I've been back, I have met with all my curriculum staff to make sure that the things we've been working on or continue to be worked on. In math, Eureka Squared, a new curriculum that's coming this year. We're continuing to actively work with the Eureka people, coaches, and making school visits and making a lot of observations to just support principals and teachers in that implementation. Social studies is still hard at work, flipping all of those new standards over that we're preparing for next year. And in science, we actually have interviews this Friday, me and Ms. Hodson, because we have an opening in the science curriculum position. So we're looking to hopefully fill that position soon. Just real briefly, in high school, we just finished our first season. We implemented powerlifting as a new sport this past year. That ends this weekend with the state tournament, and all 3 of our schools did qualify people for the state meet. Hopefully we'll see those numbers grow in the future. And on the middle school side, we implemented our robotics teams right in the middle of COVID, which made that difficult to get off the ground. But we've got 4 of our middle school teams that qualified for state this year, which is absolute progress in the right direction for where we want those to end up being. So a little bit of good news on both sides there. Thank you.
And C, technology, Ms. McCarthy.
Hi, good evening. So I'm here to give you your on-course update. We have been working very hard. Very hard. It's very hard to flip two systems at once between our SIS and our assessment system. So Christy Perkle and I meet with the project management team every Friday with OnCourse. What started out as a 2-hour meeting every Friday has stretched into 3 hours and sometimes 3.5 because they are very attentive to our district's needs, and they are really taking care of the things that we need and the things that we are working toward. Our rollover or potential go live date is July 1. That's our target, and right now we are kind of over that. We reached the hill and we're kind of like right over the hill. So right now we are on target for hitting that July 1 rollover. Right now we have our 4th and 5th grade social studies teachers and students. They have been working in the assessment platform. They've been piloting that. It has been going swimmingly. I am so incredibly pleased with the feedback that I've been getting from teachers. They are loving it. My own personal student says, "Mom, it's super easy." So, you know, just from the kid's perspective, it's going really well. Our curriculum team is going to continue to put assessments in. We're about to be like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, just putting assessments in. We're ready to go there. On the school information system side, our middle school and high school counselors have been trained in scheduling, and they've begun scheduling for next year. Their willingness and flexibility, y'all, has been phenomenal. They have taken it and they've run with it. Like, put it in the minutes, they're phenomenal. Like, I'm so very pleased with what they've been doing. Our school administrators are beginning their training this week. Actually, we did our first training today at Central, and it went well. So I'm really looking forward to that. Next week, our instructional technology team will train, and they will begin planning those PLCs where we go out and we start getting the teachers. We're going to get the teachers a foundation before they leave the end of the school year. And then this summer, we're going to offer some summer PD for the teachers to come in and feel prepared. And that's one thing that one of the principals said today that just kind of struck me. Is like, I am so glad we are getting this now, not 3 weeks before school starts. And that has been our ultimate goal, is to make this transition as smooth as possible and to make our people feel as comfortable as possible. Because it's big. It's a big transition. So just, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. So keep supporting our folks.
Thank you. All right. There is no other business before us, so we will adjourn.